To be focusing on this Bakassi Peninsula matter. Of course, you do know that it's been in the news for a long time. Comments, questions, responses coming from here and there asking Nigeria to go ahead, appeal it. Well, let's take you through this report, and that will be our focus.
1 point. Nigerians do not want to cede Bakassi to Cameroon. Years after ceding Bakassi to Cameroon, lawmakers are questioning why this action was done in the first place.
It is instructive to note that in the first place, we had no business going to the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice will have no jurisdiction to try this matter if Nigeria had not elected, to appear before it. That is what the law says.
The mover of the motion, Senator Abdul Ningi, said the judgment by the International Court of Justice that cedes Bakassi from Nigeria to Cameroon was erroneously based on an agreement between the British and Calabar chiefs in 1884, and observed that there has never been a precedent in history where any case of this nature was executed without a referendum. He also drew the attention of lawmakers to the deadline with which Nigeria can appeal the judgment.
The Senate notes further that new facts have emerged after the ruling that were not available before the first trial, coupled with the absence of a good Nigerian representation. The Senate is aware that Article 16 of the statute of the International Court of Justice requires appeal, which include, among others, areas of errors or unknown facts from the judgment.
Senate leader Senator Victor Ndumaeba regretted that Bakassi was ceded against the wishes of the people, an opinion shared by other lawmakers.
What was the horror? Why were the people of Bakassi so unimportant in this decision? Why was this Senate so unimportant in this decision? We must ask questions.
Some other lawmakers called for drastic actions to reclaim the disputed area.
The best thing to do is for us to physically go and then take over the Bakassi. Yes. After all, one of the legal means of acquiring land is conquest.
The Senate consequently urged the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, invoke Article 61 of the International Court of Justice statute to appeal the judgment in the interest of Nigerians in the affected area. Linda Kibe, Channels Television News.
Well, yes, we'll be focusing on that, and we're joined now by Ita Enang, who is the Chairman, Senate Committee on Rules and Business from Abuja. Morning, Senator, and thank you for joining us today on Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, the Senate had given that resolution saying that the executive arm of government should appeal this judgment. What is the Senate predicating that on, if we may ask?
Thank you. The Senate took this decision because we are conscious that the judgment of the International Court of Justice and the handing over of Bakassi is inchoate because it has not been ratified, first by the National Assembly of Nigeria, one, and two, that there are fresh facts which were not made available to the court at that time, and thirdly, that the even the terms of the implementation of the Green Tree Agreement has not been perfectly adhered to by the Cameroon. And the supervising parties had not done what they're supposed to do because the interest of the people of Cameroon, of the Bakassi Peninsula at this time is affected.
Would you give us a hint of what some of these fresh facts may be and how tenable are they?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
What could some of these fresh facts be?
Yeah, some of the fresh facts are that, firstly, there were allegations that there were treaties between Nigeria and Cameroon which made the Cameroon to take over the territory, as it were. I will refer first that there was the Anglo-Nigerian Treaty between Nigeria and Cameroon, and it is alleged that the first one was in 1913. But the actual fact is that there was the first treaty in 1811, when the British made the treaty that went from Lake Chad through the Congola region, as it were, down to the Atlantic Ocean, which includes today's Bakassi. Now, there was also the evidence that in 1994, during the tenure of office of Baba Gana Kingibe, that an issue arose between Nigeria and Cameroon over sovereignty over the Bakassi Peninsula. And the British government were requested to attest because they were in physical and actual control. And the government of Britain attested that the Bakassi, as it is, belongs to Nigeria. And that fact was not made available to the International Court of Justice. And of course, in 1991, there were an election in Cameroon, and there were areas that were asked at that time, because that dispute, the dispute was still live at that time. And some people in the Western Cameroon were asked to elect whether they want to vote or be part of Cameroon or to be part of Nigeria. And some areas are elected to be part of Cameroon. The area that we now call Bakassi were not even asked to vote whether or not they want to belong to Cameroon, because in actual fact, they were not party to it at all. These were facts which, in our opinion, were not made available to the International Court of Justice at that time. And if you read the entire judgment, which I've had the privilege of reading, you'll know that these are facts which, if it were made available to the court at that time, the judgment would have been different. And again, there is the constitutional question. Within Nigeria, and in Nigeria, under the 1999 Constitution, before any part of Nigerian territory can be ceded and can go away from the sovereignty of Nigeria, there must be an agreement, and a ratification of the treaty. Now, after the judgment, the International Court of Justice, the ICJ statute provides that there will be actions by the municipal legislative body. And in furtherance of that, the President Obasanjo, did write to the National Assembly seeking the ratification of the Green Tree Agreement. That Green Tree Agreement was not ratified and by the National Assembly under the tenure of President Obasanjo. And after that, sometimes in, I think December 7th, I think I have my legislative records here. Yeah, December 7th, 2007, President Yaradua did write another letter to the Senate and the House of Representatives seeking the ratification of the Green Tree Agreement. We did not ratify that agreement. I don't know if you will grant me leave to read the letter of the President to the National Assembly, because it is now a public record, having been forwarded to the Parliament, and it is now in the vote and proceedings of the Senate and House of Representatives.